Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll get this track started. So this track will be presented by Malith and Nadheesh. So Malith is VP of AI at WSO2, and then he leads all the initiative across all the product lines to build these capabilities into products. And of course, Nadheesh, as we said earlier in the previous sessions, he's kind of the knee deep in all the implementations of on agent management and as well as other AI capabilities into the products. So, Malik.
Yeah. Thank you, Chintan. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys had a good break. The lunch was okay. Right, so let's get started. My name is Malith. I've been already introduced. So I've been with WSO2 for 10 years, and I come from distributed systems and AI background. Early part of the career, I did quite a bit of stuff with distributed systems, scaling, performance, observability, and also how to make distributed systems intelligent, right? But now I am, focusing 100% on the agentic side of things. I work closely with the product teams and also work with Rania, who is our Chief AI Officer, on the AI strategy and bringing in new capabilities into our products. So today, we have two labs. First one, two tutorials. So these are the things that we're going to cover on the first one, right? So this is the first lab on WSO2 Agent Manager. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the AI agent market outlook, where it is at and what sort of growth we are expecting. And then we will move into, what is the current state, and we'll take a look at what sort of gaps that are there, right? And what are people struggling with? Then we will move into the overall architecture of the AI WSO2 Agent Manager. We call this the anatomy. So we have a image on this one on the site as well. Then we will, at a very high level, I will take you through the current capabilities, what's there right now in the product. Then we will take a look at the user personas. Now, this is an interesting topic here, and so new user personas are actually emerging. We'll talk about that. Then Nadheesh will come and do a hands-on session, I think, which is going to be the interesting part of this tutorial, right? Then on the second tutorial, we will be getting into these topics, right? Both the concepts and how do you do it in the product, right? Agent governance and guardrails, agent eval. So we've done quite a bit of stuff on eval, and Nadheesh will talk about eval in detail. And then we will also talk about agent identity and how it connects to the WSO2 Agent Manager story, right? Then we will take a look at where we want to take this product, and finally the roadmap, right? Okay, so this is how the current market is looking. So by the way, this is the AI agent market. This is not the AI, overall AI, right? Which is a very big market. This is a small fraction of it. So similar reports have been published by other analysts as well. Now, interestingly, they have similar numbers, which is a good thing as opposed to a bad thing, right? So usually you sometimes find these numbers are significantly deviating. So 2026, the value of the AI agent market is about $11 billion US. And by 2030, we are expecting it to, rise up to a value of 50 billion US dollars. And then from that point onwards, it's going to grow even more. So this is the current outlook, and this is coming from the Grand View Research, one of their reports, right? So I had this point on the last year's presentation as well, right? So this is an observation that we are making. So although there is a lot of adoption, the production success is still quite low. And this will lead to why we are doing the Agent Manager as well. So there's a large number of prototypes, experiments being done, but majority of these projects fail due to multiple reasons. So one reason is related to return on investment, ROI. You start a project without, looking into return on investment, and you don't, properly do the effort estimation or the value that these projects are going to bring in. And so then, you do a lot of work. So initial excitement is there, but then, as you move forward, the project, is not going to get successful. The other reason is the operational challenges, right? Operational complexities, scaling related issues, and so on, it's a constant struggle to take these agents to production. So although this rate is quite low, it is slowly increasing. That's what the stats is saying, right? So, and the second observation is, now the number of AI incidents are also rising, right? Now, so there are agents that people have, taken to production, and they are in production, and we are seeing, many incidents that are popping up. So one interesting place to look at is this AI incident database. Now, this is a very interesting database to look at, right? So this is, so this has a governance body, so you can't just go and add an incident here. So you'll have to submit, and they do, they look at it, and then you'll have to prove your case, right? There's a board for this database as well. Now, if you take a look at this database, you see, so it has a long list of incidents. Most of the early ones are coming from these, traditional machine learning or rule-based systems. But the recent ones are very much, related to agentic systems and Gen AI models. So I've got some screenshots of from that database. So there's a lot of issues that are popping up, and the main reason for this is not having proper, controls on agents when they're integrated with systems, right? The third observation, or third thing that's happening is what you call is this agent sprawl, right? So now, when organizations first started on agentic efforts, there was just one developer, two developer, one framework, right? But now organizations are trying to scale. So this is in fact happening in WSO2 as well. We have multiple teams working on using multiple different frameworks. In fact, in WSO2, we have 5 different groups who are building, agents in different areas: HR, customer success, sales engineers. Some of these we have taken to production, some are in the experiment stage, right? So and unlike before, now in the earlier case, you probably would have gone and used just a vector database and done a read-only operation, right? But now these agents are integrating with, enterprise systems. So they are, and they are more autonomous than before, and they are doing serious operations. And also there is duplicated efforts, like there's agents that are being developed by different developers in different teams that have pretty much doing the same thing, right? So, so there's common characteristics of this. So then this is causing a major barrier for scaling, right? Not having centralized observability, evaluation, and inconsistent security guardrails across organization. One developer might have gone and written a specific guardrail in the code, whereas some other developer has gone and deployed into some gateway, right? So it's very much fragmented sort of a system, right? And also there are various challenges with tracking costs. You don't know what's your actual spend is, and so on, and compliance related issues, right? So WSO2's overall goal is to help our customers to build the agentic enterprise by taking their agents to production, and then we help you out with that story, right? But so we've been doing this even before we started working on the agent manager. So agent manager, we've been working on that for about 8 months, Nadheesh? 5 months, yeah. So prior to that, we did a lot of work, and in our existing products, we are trying to address these pain points, and we already have solutions, and these capabilities have gone to production, and our customers are using them, and we are getting continuous feedback and improving these product capabilities, right? So for example, API Manager has the AI Gateway, which is the core part of it. Now it is becoming quite mature, and then we are continuously adding capabilities, and it has the MCP Hub. Integration product has, agent building capabilities. So recently we have introduced development time eval. How do you go about doing evaluation in the development time? So we introduced set of capabilities into WSO2 integrator. Then the identity and access management have released agent identity, which is becoming very important, and so on. So the new product which we are launching, which is the WSO2 Agent Manager, is an open control plane, and it combines multiple capabilities of this product, and it's the first AI product of WSO2, right? Right. So this is the anatomy of WSO2 Agent Manager. You have the same image on the website as well. So let's drill down a bit. So you can see the Agent Manager boundary, and there are things that the Agent Manager interacts with. For example, LLMs and tools, MCP servers, file systems, and so on. So if I start from the top, we have the control plane, right? So control plane is the one that manages the life cycle. So this is the deployments to environments, versioning, CI/CD, everything is control plane is responsible for handling those things. Then we have the observability and evaluation. So we will get to these things in detail at a later stage. So the observability and observability is there in the traditional systems also, right? But it's not enough for agents, because for agents there are different requirements. They behave differently. You need new additional capabilities, additional parameters. So you'll have to extend the existing observability stack to get proper visibility into what's going on with agents, which is what we have done. And eval is a new thing, which was not there unless you work with the traditional machine learning like problems, which you have to evaluate the accuracy. which was not that common in the agentic, in the industry, but now this is becoming a core part of AI systems. So we've done a lot of work there, and then we will get into details about eval. And then the agent identity is the other thing, which is again a core part of the agent manager. That is when you want to give or control agents' behavior, especially when you want to do more fine-grained control of what tools that the agents can access and what they cannot, right? So as you can see, we are bringing in existing capabilities of our products into one control plane and building this product. And add some more additional capabilities such as evaluation and agent observability, right? And then the governance is the other part. So those capabilities will come from the AI gateway, and you'll have the first-class experience within the agent manager for governance and guardrails, right? Now let's move on. So now I'm going to give a very high-level overview of the current capabilities that we have in the product. So some of these might not be clear at this stage, but we will get into more details, and Nadheesh will demo these ones in more detail at a later stage. Right, so this agent manager has a resource hierarchy. So this is very similar to what we have in Choreo. So we have the top level, which is the organization. Under the organization, you can have multiple projects. And then under the projects, you can have multiple agents. So Nadheesh will talk about how to structure the agents into different projects, and also he will talk a little bit about the cell-based architecture as well. So there is two types of agents that can be deployed, that the agent manager can manage. First one we call platform-hosted agents. So these are the agents that are deployed into the agent manager, where we manage the full life cycle, right? And then we have externally hosted agents. So these agents are running outside, right? So for example, you might have an agent that is running on GitHub workflow, right? So and then we can connect this agent and manage that agent. You cannot give the full capabilities because it's running outside the agent manager, but you can give certain capabilities, right? So again, we will demo that part. And then we are introducing a new concept called agent kind, right? So what is an agent kind? Agent kind is agent kind, you can create it from a source of an agent. So developer goes and create an agent, and from that source, you can create an agent kind. So it's a blueprint of the agent, and using that kind, someone else, so that someone else is a different user persona. I will get to that when we talk about user personas, can create an actual instance of that kind. So think of it as a blueprint which is created from a source, and from that you create an actual instance. So you can create multiple of such instances with different configuration parameters. So this actually adds a lot of value. So we will show how this brings value, right? Also, there is an agent catalog which is currently in the product, which has where you can discover these agent kinds or blueprints, right? Now, when it comes to observability, so we've done a lot of work here. So we provide support for multiple frameworks: LangGraph, GrooveAI, Autogen, Ballerina. So as I pointed out earlier, we are extending the OpenTelemetry and using standards like OpenLLMmetry, which has those additional attributes that are required for to provide agent observability. So in fact, what happened was when early days, the hotel, OpenTelemetry didn't have agent-specific observability, right? So then companies started innovating around this. So OpenTelemetry is from a company called Traceloop. So they've gone and added, they've taken OpenTelemetry and then they've extended it and make sure that the agents, executions can be tracked with the right set of parameters. Now, this is getting merged into the OpenTelemetry. So the OpenTelemetry will now have agent-specific observability as well, right? And then zero-code instrumentation. So this is very important. So as developers, we write code, right? So if you have to modify your code in order to get the observability, that is not good, right? So what we are making sure, or what we are ensuring is that you don't need to do code level changes. So you can develop it in Crew AI or whatever the language. Automatically you will get the observability for your agent, right? Then under that there are multiple views. Nadheesh will show you. We have different levels of view. We have complete row view, and then we have summarized view, views that will let you debug agents and so on, right? So under evaluation, so this is something where we've done a lot of work. So we have two types of evaluators. First one, we call it pre-built or built-in evaluators. There are more than 20 evaluators, right? For example, if you want to measure a path efficiency, has the agent gone in the correct path, you can create a path efficiency evaluator, and then you can get a score for that. Then if those evaluators are not good enough, and if your use case requires different kinds of evaluators, then you can write custom evaluators. So we have a demos on this one too, right? And then the evaluation can be done at different levels. You can look at a complete trace and do an evaluation, or a trace can have multiple agents, right? So you can do agent level evaluation, or you can just look at the LLM interaction and then do evaluations, right? There's a new concept, there's also something called monitors, which is part of evaluation. So we have evaluators, which are built-in and custom, and then we have monitor. Monitor is a set of evaluators. So, and what you do is you can run the monitor periodically for set of traces, right? So you create an evaluator. So for that, so you create the monitor, and then you can add set of evaluators, and then you can run this monitor periodically. So then what will happen is for each evaluator, it will evaluate, and also you will get an overall score for the monitor. So then when you look at all of these evaluators, for example, performance monitor will have multiple evaluators, right? And which looks at different characteristics that is relevant to the performance. And then also we can do different statistics of these evaluators, trend analysis, and so on, right? So the final area that we worked on and which we have capabilities in the product is security and governance capabilities. So we have the LLM governance. So this is the organization level LLM governance, right? Where you can create proxies for LLMs, right? This is the part of the AI gateway, and there are templates for creating these proxies. And then at the organization level, you can add guardrails, right? So this is the organization level governance of LLMs. Then there is the second level, which is the agent level governance. So, if you want to add guardrails at the agent level, in addition to what you have at the organization level, that also can be done. We will demonstrate that when we do the product demonstration. Okay, so right now I am just giving the high level overview of what is actually there in the product. Okay, so LLM governance at the organization level, and you can create LLM proxies which will govern the LLM traffic, and you can add guardrails, and then you can go to the agent level and add additional guardrails in addition to what's there at the LLM level. Okay. What are the user personas for Agent Manager? So this one is quite obvious. So we call this Delia. Now, she's the AI agent developer, right? So she writes code in whichever the framework that she wants to write it in, or whichever the framework that her team is writing the code in. So her goal is to effectively deliver high-performing secure agents. So what she does is she builds, tests, integrates, deploys, and manage agents. So this is one user persona in the Agent Manager, right? So what are the pain points of this user persona? She's having a lot of pain points. Now, first of all, difficulties in debugging and troubleshooting, right? If she is doing it all by herself. So not having centralized visibility into traces, tools, and runtimes. And she's having hard time evaluating. Now, she might have written a lot of custom scripts. So even when we were building agents, like I remember we were building the first AI feature, which is called API chat, which is part of the API Manager product. We wrote a custom script for evaluating that particular agent, and then integrated that with the CI/CD. And so that was a lot of work. And also, she doesn't want to, write operational level code, operational level logic in the code, right? Security governance, we already touched on this. So these ones should be actually on the platforms, right? Also, she doesn't want to manage deployments, versions. It's not her role, but it's a pain point that she's having, configurations, right? And the second user persona is what we call this person Adam, AI compliance lead. Okay, so these are two different user personas, right? So Adam is the person who ensure secure, compliant, and high-performing deployment and of AI agents, right, across the organizations. So what he does is, so he has to continuously monitor what's going on, and then the alert should be sent to Adam, and he must, enforce governance and security compliance policies, right? So that's what Adam does. So the pain points for Adam is, especially when the organization scale, the agent sprawl, which we spoke about earlier, the fragmented governance policies across teams and frameworks, right? One developer, as I pointed out earlier, might have put some governance in the code, and other developer might have gone and deployed it somewhere else, so it's very much fragmented. And he doesn't have enough visibility into what's going on, right? Also, another pain point is, how do you, do role-based access control? This is a very important point, right? You don't want everyone to do everything, right? So if he's gone and created a specific guardrail, then if a developer goes and changes it, that's a problem, right? So that's one pain point he's having. So like that, there are various pain points for Adam also, right? And the third user persona is Alex. So this relates to the agent kind, which I was talking about. So right now we call this person agent consumer, right? That's what we call. Maybe there's a better term for that. But what this person does is he wants to effectively use and manage trusted agent to accomplish business tasks. So he's not building agents from scratch. Okay? So all he wants to do is discover, configure, and use pre-built agent for specific task. This is a very common use case these days, right? So, and Alex is also got a lot of pain points, right? Now, first of all, discoverability. He doesn't know where to find a specific agent, right? And limited visibility into what's going on. He doesn't know what permissions this agent has, and very much dependent on the developers and having to get other people to set those agents up for him. And also the level of customization, right? So there may be a specific agent that is already built, but he cannot customize it the way he wants, right? So you'll have to have the right level of customization so that he can configure this specific agent and deploy it and get what he wants done. Okay, so now, so agent manager, so that's what I want to talk about. So Nadheesh will come. Now, agent manager, as you know, it has two flavors. One is the open source version, which is, this is the GitHub repo. So you can download the product, and also there's a quick start guide. You can try it out. This is very stable, so we've done quite a lot of improvements there. Or there is a SaaS version which we have just released. You can try that out too. And if there's any questions, you can contact us. So now I would like to invite Nadheesh to drill down further. Do you name this?
Hello, everybody. So I hope you have a good understanding of what Agent Manager can do now and what are the personas in all. So thanks, Malith, for doing that introduction. And let me go back to the dark version of the slides now, where we have the demo. So so the first thing I want to say, okay, I'm going to do this demo with my local setup, where I have Agent Manager fully running in my laptop. So this is the open source version. So you can also try that out. You just need like 4 cores, 8 GB memory, that kind of resources, and you can just make it up and running in your laptop. So that's the setup I'm going to use here, just to showcase. So the first concept we are going to cover with Agent Manager right now is the Agent Control Center. So this is the place where we can see all the agents that are running in your organization. And these agents can be deployed anywhere. It can be even in Agent Manager, or it can be somewhere else as well. Sorry. So give me a second. I have it here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Malith already mentioned we have a concept called organizations, projects, and then agents, right? So that means I am locked out, kicked out from the agent manager. So let me log him back. So we have these concepts where we have organizations, projects, and agents. So organization, you already understand, right? So it's the organization that all the agents are living in. And project is a concept where you can group agents so that they can have their own trust boundary. So this is what our cell architecture means, right? So this is something we are kind of advocating, the cell architecture. So here also we use the same concept. We have projects where all your similar agents are, or all the agents that are trusting each other can live in, group together, or it can be even agents for a certain department. So you can use any grouping. I mean, we don't enforce that you have to think like that. It's just a grouping concept for your agents. So I will go to the Lab 3 project right now. So this is the agent. This is where I have all my agents represented right now. So I'm not going to say running because some of them are running inside the agent manager. Some of them are outside of agent manager. That's why. And let me increase the count here. So we have like a bunch of agents, right? So you can see like different tags here appearing. So some say it's external, and some agents, they have this another tag saying customer support line graph. So like there are different tags which actually have a meaning. For example, what external agent means. So this is not an agent running inside the agent manager, it's running somewhere else. For in this case, it can be in AWS or it can be in Azure Container Apps. So it doesn't matter like where you are running your agents, you can plug that to the agent manager and try do the observability, governance, all those things. And the other thing is, Malith already mentioned, we have this concept called agent kinds. So agent kind is a case where you have some source that you basically define it as a blueprint, and using that blueprint you can instantiate different agents. For example, here we have instantiated 3 agents using a single agent kind. So let me go to our organization level. So if you go to the organization level, you can see the agent catalog. And here we have all the agent kinds that I have added to the system right now. So you can see this is the customer support line graph, which shows the agent kind used in all 3 agents. So let me go inside that. So if we go inside this, it says this is a single agent for customer support assistant, and it has a bunch of configurations as well. What's the region, what's the OpenAI key, language, currency, all those configurations. So what this means, so somebody in your organization, if they want a customer support agent for a different region, he can use this to instantiate that agent with its own identity, its own configurations, all those things. And this is very important because this is a pattern we are seeing right now. For example, if you take OpenCloud or Cloud, you don't get a shareable deployment most probably, right? So what you get is a container that is only for you, or you probably deploy it in your laptop, right? So you have your own agent. So the thing what you're seeing is agent harness that can be common for most of the agents, but what you do is you configure and create more and more agent, adding skills, MCPs to that agent harness. Then only you get an agent instance that can actually do some stuff. So to represent that pattern, we have introduced this agent catalog. And of course, let us also know like what are your thoughts about that, because this is something we are introducing. So we want to know your feedback as well, whether you had the similar experience, because we heard about these things like from others. They have similar requirement where they want to represent these kind of agents so that they can use that kind of agents to instantiate whatever the agents they are using. And I mean, maybe this is not something we are supporting yet, but think of like if you have external kind of agents. So if you want to monitor and govern all the agents in your organization, the cloud code used by all the employees. That's again one scenario where you can have a cloud code kind, and then all the instances can be represented through that. Okay, let me go back to the slides. So we covered 2 concepts. First, the agent control center, where we have all the agents, and the other thing is the agent catalog and the agent kinds. And based on that, you have seen like we are managing 3 types of agent at the moment. One is the source-based platform hosted. That means you give a GitHub URL or some source, and we use that to run your agent within the platform. The other case is you already have defined the kind of agent, the agent kind. So we can use that to actually create the agent as well. And how you get the kind is, it can be based on another source-based agent. So I'll show you that flow. And then the other type is the externally hosted agents, as I mentioned earlier, where we have agents running anywhere else, which we can, again, register to the platform and instrument, and observe, govern, do all those stuff. So let me go back to the console. So let's go to the Lab 3 project, and now we are at the control center where we have all the agents. So you can see like there are a couple of agents here. So I will stick to this customer support agent from now on, and then try to tell what would the agent view look like and what we can do there. So if you go here, so this is a source-based agent hosted within the platform, not the external agent. And you can see it has some operations that you can perform on top of that. And this is the overview where you have the URL to connect to agent, because this is an API agent, so you have a URL. You can use that to access that agent. And also you can see some of the information like where the source code is, whether the build was successful, whether it's deployed, when it was deployed, all this information you can see, and you have some operations here as well, right? And if you go to the build view, you can see all the builds that have happened, which is from the source code, right? So we have brought the source code in. I think if you have used Choreo, this is the similar experience to that. And then we have the configure view, which is something important when we talk about LLM providers, which we'll do in the next session. So I will skip that for now. And then we have the deploy view, where we can actually see the agent deployment. Because we are going to support multiple environments, we need a view to look at all the environments. Like right now, it's just one environment, but we can add more environments. So we'll have more deploy card, and you can promote all your agents through the environments using this deploy view. And also, you can roll back to a different version of the agent. All those things you can do from this view. And then we have the publish view, where actually you are creating agent kind. So this is the view where you can say, okay, I'm thinking this agent is reusable across different teams or different employees or people. So then I will publish this as an agent kind. And the persona involved here is most probably a developer. So he knows all things about his agent. So he can basically go and configure this very effectively. For example, he can decide, okay, what are the configurations that this agent should have when it is running? So whether this is mandatory configuration, whether this is secret, or whether I will provide a default value, all those things he can decide at this point, and then publish the agent kind, and also give a version to that. You can select like what is the build you want to publish as the agent kind as well, because build define the different versions of the agent, right? Yeah. And then you have the tryout feature, which is this is a chat type agent. So you can just type in here and talk with the agent and try it out easily. And then you have the other view where you have, these agents are secured now through an API key. So right now we only support API keys, but we will support auth also very soon. So you can create an API key from this view and get access to your agent. I will show that flow also very soon. And there, you have the URL from the overview and the API key from me, and with that you can connect to your agent. And now we are coming to the most interesting part for this session. It's the traces. So traces are the kind of the new thing, but not a new thing actually. Traces were there for a long time, but it was considered as some sort of overhead, right? It was not enabled most of the time unless you have a very serious issue you want to debug and go through that. But now with agents, this is not becoming optional thing, it's kind of becoming mandatory. I mean, maybe you don't collect the prompt, etc., but still you need to collect the trace where you have all these steps that happen. Otherwise, you are blind because agent is a complete black box without any traces. So that's why this is very important. This is becoming very important. So let me select the time range here to 7 days because I have a bunch of traces I pushed here earlier. So you can see okay, we have a lot of traces here. So we are supposed to get input output as well, but due to some instrumentation changes, it's not getting there here, but we can still go inside and look at the details. So if you go inside a trace, what you can see is you can see the model invocations, tool invocations, all those information. Asank already, I think, covered a little bit of this. So if you go here, you have a detailed view of the prompt, what the system prompt is, what the user prompt was. You can see there are multiple user prompts because there has been a continuous conversation with this agent. This is the session. And also you can see the list of tools for this agent, at least used for this LLM reasoning process. And also if you click attributes, this is the ugly view where you can see everything as a JSON. And then for the tools also, you can see the name, the input message, the observation or the output came from the tool, which is very important to look at. And based on that, you can analyze, okay, what happened actually with this agent. Because for me, actually, it's very uncomfortable if I don't see that after the agent executed. I don't trust the final answer, personally. So, yeah. So these are the concept. Of course, so we have more stuff for the observability, the runtime logs, where this is similar to normal applications. You can look at what logs are there for the application. Again, important when you are debugging or something, right? And also the metrics. And then we have a very important one, monitors, which we kept for the next session, best for the last. So, and this is the concept. So I will now try to show you how we can actually use the system. That means create an agent, how we can actually go through the end-to-end flow. So let me create a source space agent where we will use the GitHub repository. And using that, we will get the agent deployed. Then we will try to invoke the agent and then see whether traces are working, whether we get the traces, all those things. So this is the agent sample I'm going to use. It's again a customer support agent, but not the previous one, if you are in other lab sessions. And so I need the GitHub URL. I need the project path to direct there. And so this is a chat type agent. I will show you what that means. And then also I need the OpenAI key. These are the things I need to deploy here. So let me go to the project view again. And here we have this add agent button, so I'll click that. And here, then it will ask, okay, whether I want to deploy register external agent or deploy the platform hosted agent, because we support both, right? So I will say it's a platform hosted because I'm going to deploy it into the agent manager. And then also, then it will ask another choice, whether I want to bring it from the agent catalog or it's from the source code. I will click the agent catalog just to show you what's the experience. So here the agent, it will direct me to the agent catalog. And I can select one of these agent kinds and then start deploying that or instantiating that. But I won't do that now. I will go back and I will select the source kind. And here I will give a name, maybe say customer support agent again. That's fine. And I can give a description. It's an optional thing. I have the URL autofill, so good. And also, this is the path of the agent. And also, you can select the branch. So it's the main branch for now. So we are good. And also, another thing, right now, I'm using a public repo because this is the sample repo that we have for WSO2. But if you have a private repo, still you can bring that agent into your agent platform. That's not a blocker. And also, we have 2 build types we are supporting right now, which will be extended to other languages as well. Right now, we support Python. And also, you can use a Docker build, which is like the universal thing, right? If you are writing your agent with anything, you can just use a Docker build and still deploy it. And then you have to do the start command. So this will depend on your Python application, whether you are using Unicon or whatever the framework you are using behind the scenes, right? And then you can tell whether you want to enable the auto instrumentation or whether you will bring in your own auto instrumentation. So those things you can define here. So I'm going to keep it enabled, and also I'm going to keep the versions same. And then you can define what kind of an agent this is. So right now we are supporting only 2 types. That's the chat agent and also the custom API agent. But this will be extended very soon. We will support multiple types of agent. And if you look at the chat agent, so we specify a certain specification. So then the developer has to follow that specification and then develop the agent. So it's easier for him, later on, not when he's developing. But if you do a custom agent, that means he has to give us the specification he has used when he's building the agent, as well as the port, also the base path URL. So those things he has to provide now. But since this is a chat agent, I will go with chat option. And yes, if you have LLM providers configures, that means this is the where you bring in the LLM APIs to the platform and then use them when you are deploying the agent, which is covered in the second part of the session. So I'll keep it as it is. I will get the API key. I will directly give the API key as an environment variable instead of using the AI gateway. I will mark this as a secret because we don't want others to, this to be leaked, right? And then I can just deploy. Yeah, so this is start building the agent, which will take around 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Depends on your network connection. I don't think it will be that fast because I'm running this locally and our network connection is not that good here. So until it builds, we can switch to one of the agents I already built. It's the same one. So this is the same agent. I have already built that. So we can use that for now and then move forward with the demo. So if you look at this, so this is already built and we don't have any configurations. It's already deployed. Once it is built, it will be auto-deployed. So you don't have to do anything there. So of course, our assumption is you will have a lower level environments, right? So earlier you will have dev environments, then only you will promote it to production. So this is not going to be a problem. And if you want, you can disable that option as well, the auto deployment option. You can keep it manual deploy. And if you look at the configure and deploy, and you can see the key I have put in, I can add more environment variable. I can configure the instrumentation, the authentication, whether I want it or I want to keep it non-insecure. I will keep them as it is because I'm going to use it securely with the API key. And also, you can configure the resource allocations as well for your agent because this is deployed within the Agent Manager platform. So those things also I will not touch for this session. You can play around that and see how it will work. So this is the other part where, now if I think my agent is good enough as the developer, if I want to share it with others for them to configure and use, so I can use this view to configure it. But for now, I will keep it as it is because I'm also not confident enough about this agent. I want to first try it out myself and then see how it will work. So what we can do is we can just try it with the try view, but it's boring. So I will try to connect it to a real front end and see how it will work. So first thing we need is a key because I will create like a front end key and can define when it is going to expire. And then I will copy this. So let me find my VS Code. So this is the web application I'm going to use. Here I will go to the public config.js and I will set the new key, and also let me get the URL also. So you can go to the overview and get the URL. That's one way of doing that. And then I will change this. Okay, I need to keep the chat part, so I will keep that and only change the base URL. Okay. And then let me redeploy this. Okay. So this is the application. And this again, I mentioned earlier, right? So this is a customer support agent for a certain shopping or shipping company or enterprise called Northin. So they name their agent as the ARIA. So we can click here and try to log in. And then I get access to the agent. Okay. So now I have access to the agent's console. Now I can ask questions about like my orders. Let's say, is my latest order? Let's try a sample question from here and see whether it's working. Okay, cool. So it's working, and we get the answer. Now I'm kind of like suspicious or doubtful about how it works. So I want to go back and check how the traces are, right? So I will go back here and look at the traces and give it a minute. Okay, yeah. So you can see the traces here, and you can see, okay, there's one agent invocation, and we have used, there are two LLM invocations, one tool invocation, so we can go here, we can see what the system prompt is, and this is the question I asked, and this is the first step, like it's saying, okay, go and call this tool, and the tool, yeah, it's correct tool, right? So it's checking the orders. And then I can go here and see what's the final answer. Okay, it's correct. And the way I shift from the different spans is by looking at this icon. If it is a LLM span, there is this brain icon. Then if it's a tool, then you have this spammer icon, right? So those things are there to help you to guide through the traces, because we have other non-critical traces as well, spans, right? And also you can see like what's the model we have been using behind the scenes, also the token count for each LLM call, all those things you can see here. Okay. So let me do like a complex thing also. Say any pending orders. Can we cancel them? Yes. Okay. So now you can go back and refresh this view and see the traces appearing. Okay, so we have one trace again with 16 spam. So I assume it has 2 LLM calls and 1 tool call, similar to the previous one. And this one we have 32 spans, so that means it has been doing quite a bit of work. So I think it's worthwhile to look at the tools that it has executed. So it's trying to execute the cancel order tool. And for some, okay. And then it's again getting the customer orders and trying to do the cancel order again. So it seems like a problem. Let's try to see what's happening. So, okay. So sorry, this is from actually the first message I sent, right? So because in this trace we have the full session. So we need to go and find the last one. So this is a yes. And it's deciding, okay, I need to cancel order because customer requests the cancellation. And once the cancel order goes, okay, so what had happened was the order ID is given inaccurately by the agent. Because of that, the cancellation failed. So we have that information here. And then agent has to retry now with the correct order ID. That's why agent executed the get all orders. And then got all the orders this customer has. So agent can now figure out what's the order ID correctly, right? Accurately. And then it did the cancellation again. So like this, you can have the insights. Now, we were thinking, okay, when we got the first answer, final answer, everything works well, right? That's the feeling we got. But actually, when we look at it, we can see it has gone in unnecessary steps, which we could have improved, right? So those things, those insights you can get by looking at traces. And of course, you can't look at each trace one by one. That's not going to scale as well. And that's why exactly why we have this concept called monitors, which we are going to cover in the next session. We'll show you how you can use monitors to pin down the problematic traces. Yeah. So I will also demonstrate how we can get external agent onboarded to the system, and then also see whether we can look at the traces for that external agent. For that, I will follow different path as well. I will try to use agents to deploy this or bring this agent to our agent manager platform. So I'm going to use Cloud Code and basically try to, we also have a MCP server. So I'm going to try to basically do that task using Cloud Code. Okay, so let me look at what are the MCP servers I have so far. Sorry, I'm at the wrong tab. Yeah. So if I look at the MCPs, okay, I have already Agent Manager connected. So the connection look like I will clear the authorization and authenticate again. So only thing you have to do is you have to just enter your credentials. It will be authenticated, and then you can use it. Now it is connected. That's the only thing. And then let me create a new session. And then I'm going to focus on, we have a bunch of agents here. So I'm going to focus on this triage agent, which is written in Crew AI. And let's see what will happen with that agent. So let me say, focus on triage agent. Let's register that as an external agent. So it's trying to first list the projects because we have the projects, right? So you have to first pick which project you want to bring this in. Okay, I already have one created, so it's kind of confused with that one now. So I will say register a new one in a fresh project. Yeah, so I will use the first option. It was asking about the project name and the agent name. Do you want to proceed to the MCP, create project? Yes, I'm okay with that. And proceed to creating the external agent, so it's asking whether to create the external agent, so I'm okay with that. Okay, so it's done. And it's giving me some information as well. Okay, so since this external agent now to basically register, we did the registration to the agent manager side, right? But we didn't connect that external agent to the agent manager. So it's telling the steps for how to do that. So first thing we have to do, we have to install this require the dependency, and then also we have to set up this environment variables, and then we can run this agent. So I will tell Claude to basically figure that out. Go and instrument, run the agent, and try it. So it's figuring out like how I can run this agent, right? So the run command, all those things. I didn't give any information to the Claude, so it's trying to figure that out. So while this is happening, let me show like how it will work in the console as well. So you can go and add the external agent here. I will give a name like trash agent, and then I can say register. It's very quick. I mean, we don't even need to use AI there, but I just want to show that. So then you get this guides where you have to install this instrumentation library, which we use to actually capture the traces. Let me see whether it's asking something again. Yeah. So, and then also it will give you the API endpoint to publish the traces. Since we are supporting hotel open telemetry traces, so it's a hotel endpoint, and also the key, because we have secured this for each agent. I mean, other agents cannot publish to endpoint of this agent. That's the way we have built it. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess, right? Yeah, I think Claude is taking some time to figure out how to run the agent. Okay, maybe I have the agent running, that's right. So another thing, the traces I showed for a single agentic application. What that means is, now we can't assume every application will have a single agent within that, right? So within us, if you have a multi-agentic application, that means you can have multiple agent traces also within the same trace for that application. Again, this is something we were thinking, and we have done certain improvements on top of that. So I will show that also, like traces for a multi-agentic application, and this is one of them actually. So this application is a crew where we have multiple, like 4 agents working together. So you can see the traces for each agent properly. Okay, maybe I can try it manually before the Claude figured it out. I think it's using this port, so I will change it, and I say AMP instrument. So this is the instrumentation CLI command. Okay, it did it finally. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's confirming the traces are there, so let's go and verify. sorry, this is not the one, right? It created it in a different project. And this is the agent. It's not. Okay, I have to ask it where it created that. Agent name is this, Agent Lab 3 trash project. Let me refresh. Yes, it's here. Let's go to the agent, get the trace. So if you look at the trace here, it's a little bit different from what we saw earlier. Here we have multiple agent icons. So that means there are multiple agents, each of them doing a little bit of work. And the final outcome is from all these agents, right? So you can go to the prompt, etc. But unfortunately, we don't get the tools with this instrumentation. So these are like inconsistencies with instrumentation as well, because we are relying on trace loop, those kind of instrumentation packages. They have certain inconsistencies. Some of the information you may not get, but it will evolve very soon. So that's what we are seeing. Okay, so this is the first session. Yeah, so this is the what we covered with this session was we have 3 types of agents: source-based, kind-based, and externally hosted agents. And agent lifecycling we covered: build, deploy, try out, publish, and observability, especially the traces, and also the end-to-end deployment of agent. And during the next session, what we are going to plan to cover is the agent eval and the guardrails, governance, and also agent identity, those 3 topics. Thank you.